what advice? I'm asking for a friend. This is not for me, but someone who is famously shy.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about this on the show all the time. I'm a very
Yeah.
anxious person. I
Yeah.
panic in high stress situations. What are like some best practices for someone that traditionally suffers from
Yeah.
anxiety and not responding well in stressful situations?
Right. I think those are great questions. And I'm just like you. I will never forget. I grew up playing the piano. I hated playing for anyone. I would only practice at home when nobody was listening. I remember I had one song that I played perfectly every time I played it. And then I had a recital where I had to play in front of a group of people, and I completely failed. It was awful. It was really, so I'm the same. It requires that I really prepare for situations so that I don't get nervous and panic. So for students who are struggling with the job interview process, it really is about taking the time to recognize that you have high anxiety and to say that that's okay. Of course, anyone is nervous in a job interview, but some of us do suffer more with that. And when we're doing it in another language, it takes that anxiety to another level. I think a lot of students, when they're preparing for a job interview, they start Googling, trying to find information about how they should answer specific questions. They read things online. Maybe they listen to some, podcasts or something. So they do all of that, but they don't actually, that's not preparation. That's research.
Right.
It's not preparation. Preparation is saying, okay, here's how I could answer this question. I'm going to create my answer to that question. And then I'm going to practice it out loud. I'm not just going to think about it. Again, a lot of students just think about things and they think, okay, I would say this, or I would answer the question this way, but they never physically practice answering it.
Right.
Thinking about it isn't enough. You have to physically practice answering it. And of course, there's a lot of advice online that says, stand in front of a mirror and watch yourself answering questions. That's great. At least you're saying something out loud. But I would take it a step further and say, take a question like, tell me about yourself, prepare your answer, practice saying it out loud, record it, listen to it, and see what you think. The first time you listen to it and the first time you answer that question, I'll be honest, it's probably not going to be great. You're going to hear yourself. You're going to have that high anxiety. You're going to hear all the mistakes that you've made. You're going to hear your accent and think maybe your accent's too strong. There's a lot of responses that we have that first time. But the great thing about that is you can look at all of that and say, okay, well, what do I need to change so that the second time I record this, it's better and I'm more comfortable with it and I like it. So you can record it again and make those changes, listen to it and say, oh, okay, great. That one was better. I like that better. I like that word I used, or I feel like my grammar was better. The more that you do that, the more prepared you are to answer that question, the more sure you are about your answer. You've also, through that process of repetition, you have locked those words and your answer into your mind so that when you're in a higher stress situation, like the real interview, you're not as likely to lose those words. Those words will be there for you when you need them to answer that question.
Right.
Then I think with all of that, I'm also a huge advocate for breathing. It's really important to breathe.
Yeah, don't forget to breathe.
Yeah, take some deep breaths. I always tell my students in the course, the best way to breathe when you need to calm down is to imagine that you're smelling something beautiful. So whether it's, someone walks into a room with your favorite perfume or cologne and you just take this deep breath to appreciate the smell, or you walk into your grandma's house and she's making fresh bread or your favorite pasta sauce. Like when you walk into a room and you have that experience, you take this really deep breath in to enjoy all of that and appreciate it, and it calms you down. And that's the best way to breathe when you're feeling anxious.
Yeah. In through your nose.
Yep.
Through your mouth.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for breathing. I have a lot of situations where I forget to breathe and I
Yeah,
wonder why I am panicking. And it's
right.
because there's no oxygen going to my
Right,
lungs.
right. And when you have that oxygen, it also clears space in your mind. It relaxes your mind a little bit. One of the reasons people forget things in an interview is they're just panicked, and their brain is so focused on the fear that they don't have time to think about the words that they want to use. So using that breath to calm down and get that panic out of your mind allows you to refocus and go back to finding the words and the grammar that you want to use instead of being focused on the fear that you have in that moment.
Right, right. And I cannot agree strongly enough with the idea of recording yourself,
Yeah.
even videotaping yourself,
Yep. Yes.
because when you do that, it's not rocket science like what you need to change. I
Mm-hmm.
had to do this consistently during business school, and
Mm-hmm.
immediately when they turned on the camera, they would make
Mm-hmm.
us do this in front of other people, which was not fun.
Yeah, I would hate that.
It was terrible, terrible torture. But immediately you can see like, oh, my posture is awful. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
breathing. I'm moving around a lot. I'm speaking
Mm-hmm.
super fast.
Right.
The changes you need to make are normally relatively obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't know them if you never, again, it's that idea of if I think about this, or if I do some research on Google, if I look at some blog posts, I'll be prepared. But none of those tell you how fast you speak. None of those tell you how you sound when you speak. None of those tell you um, whether you're using the words that you really want to use in your answer. The only way that you can identify those things that are great about your answer and the things that you want to change is to record it, physically do it, record it, listen to it, or watch it, analyze it, and make those changes. There's just no other way around it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that very strongly.
Yeah.